Well, well, well. Look what we have here. Welcome to the stream, everybody. Yes, I am in Canada. Yes, I am in Banff. Yes, I'm on my honeymoon. But the content never stops. Welcome, everyone. How are we doing, people? Welcome to the stream. Late notice, I know, but obviously I'm not going to be here for ages. This is going to be like a mini roundup stream, you know what I'm saying? But thank you, everyone. Welcome, chat. As you can see, there is a certain something on my wedding finger. It's a big chunky one as well, but I love it. I'm not used to wearing jewelry. Also, Hannah got me a tag watch, and it's the Formula One tag watch as well. So thank you, Hannah. Love you. She's just over there in bed, chilling, because we've had it's been a very, very long last few days. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Canadian Grand Prix. In case you didn't know, we went. So we flew to Montreal on Saturday at the race Sunday. Met a bunch of you there, which was amazing. Then flew to Calgary on Monday. Drove loads. Got to where we were staying in Banff. Then got married the day after. It's been busy. It's been busy. But today's been the first proper day of rest. You know what I mean? So having a nice little lay-in. Yeah, I had to have a nap yesterday, and I never nap. But I had to because I was so just shattered. Hence why this stream is a couple of days later than it typically is. But I wasn't even planning on doing this stream, to be honest. But then I was just like, you know what? Let's just set up. Let's talk about Canada, because I want to talk about the race experience there actually as well. Bless you. I want to talk about the race experience being there more than the actual race itself, I suppose, because I'm sure you don't need me to talk about what happened during the race. It's Wednesday. Come on, no one cares. It's also, is it Thursday? Oh my god, I've literally, it is as well. I've lost all sense of time. Well, because on my phone, it's 9:42 in the morning here in Canada, in Banff, and it's 4:42 in the afternoon at home in the UK. So I'm gonna sneeze now. It's okay, we're fine. It didn't come. Oh, it's good to be here though. It's good to be back. Thank you, Ricardo, for the 10 Mexican pesos. Appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you, Mocha, for the 499. Congrats, Tommo. Hope you like my home province of Alberta. Alberta's beautiful, mate. I was hoping I could, because it's not a great day today. It's very rainy, but there is some mad mountain view out the back. I might see if I can try it, but then my camera will probably disconnect, so that probably won't work. But yeah, it's crazy. We're in Banff, which is like right in the Rockies, and it's stunning. But yeah, thank you, Mocha. Thank you, Edward, as well, for the 199 USD. Exactly, mate. Clearly no important reason. Clearly not. But yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. And
Can you please clarify that I am Minton's mum as well? And that
can I? Oh, Hannah's just asked me to clarify that she's Minton's mum. I mean, to be fair, Minton McCluskey, he's always been Minton McCluskey. Now you're Hannah McCluskey. So, because one of the top replies to my tweet was that, no, not my YouTube community post, was that that Minton's got a new mum. I mean, she was always Minton's mum. There was no other mum. I wasn't a single Minton dad. But yeah, there you go. There's a clarification for you, Han. Right. Anyway. Right. So, anyway, right. For this stream, I thought, again, we've talked about the race. I mean, briefly, from my experience, from my experience watching it there. So we had general admission. We didn't have like seats in the stands. So we sat pretty much. We watched like the whole race from the little beach cove in the middle, and they had the big screen up. All in all, I thought the race, it was all right. I don't think it was anything. I don't think it was that good, to be honest. I didn't think it was that interesting. When I saw other people talking about it, quite kind of positively. I was quite surprised, but I think a big part of that is because when you're there, and I'm sure plenty of you who've been to races before will know this, going to a race and watching it either from the grandstands or even from like a screen, you know, at the track, very different experience to watching it at TV on home. At home, you've got so much, you've got so little information relative, because I'll be honest, like we do, I think we take the level, the quality of the commentary from Crofty and Brundle for granted, because they give us so much information, and you can hear all the team radios. You can't really hear that when you're watching from a screen. So it's one of them races that I think it needed that extra kind of insight for me to really get as much out of it as I probably would have if I watched it from home, I'll be honest. But that's just purely on the kind of quality of the race for me. Thank you, Jamie, for the 30 Aussie dollars. Thank you very much, mate. Very kind of you. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Tommo F1. Hannah F1, Tommo F1. She's joined the crew. So she was just staring at me like I'd done something wrong. I was like, oh god. Well, I'm married now, so it's different levels. And Hannah is in chat, by the way. So hello from Minton's biological mum. Exactly. Thank you, Alex, for the $5 USD. Congrats on the engagement. Hope your future has many good memories together. Thank you, Alex. Very kind. Yeah. So look, I can only speak my experience, but what I will say, and where my rating, I'm not going to ask you for a race rating here at all. Don't worry, there's no reflection. You're fine. I'm not going to ask for your race rating, but I'm going to give you my experience rating. Okay, so for example, for me, I've been to Silverstone a couple of times. I've been Miami, and now I've been Canada. So I've only been to 3 different Grand Prix. So it's not like I've experienced loads. But obviously Silverstone is one of the crown jewels on the calendar for sure in terms of fan experience and engagement. So I'll be honest. Canada as an event, as an experience to go to, it's a 9 out of 10 for me. I thought it was fantastic. It was so cool. Like, right, so first big pro. So we stayed in downtown, and we were actually really close to the hotel where the Red Bull guys were staying, because I saw GP coming out of the hotel and there were loads of Checo fans outside waiting. Thank you, Ayed, by the way, for the 199. Appreciate it. So we were staying downtown. So easy to get to the track because the metro takes you right there, the metro system. So it's super well connected and easy to get to. It's beautiful. Like, it's so nice. You get off the metro, you've got this big, like, whatever the orb thing's called. You walk over the bridge, and it's like, it's so nice. And it was a beautiful day as well, which I was like, we were fortunate that we didn't go earlier in the week. We were literally just there for the Sunday, for race day. Beautiful, stunning. Honestly, if you can go to the Canadian Grand Prix next year and you've not been before and you're thinking about it, I couldn't recommend it more highly. Honestly, from that kind of, Silverstone has an amazing kind of atmosphere with the fans, right? But I think I actually prefer Canada to the British Grand Prix in terms of the experience going there. So cool, such a unique setting with all the kind of all the trees and all the kind of rivers, and there's little, like, all the stuff in the middle and the little beach in the middle. Again, it was a lovely day, so that helps. But beautiful, so nice. Thank you, Daniel, for the £2. Appreciate it. You and Hannah, you're a legend as well, apparently, Hannah. You are a legend. Yeah, I couldn't speak more highly. Cool. I couldn't speak more highly of it. Honestly, I really couldn't. It was phenomenal, beautiful place. Hannah, what did you think of Canada, by the way? The race, is that it? Just lovely. Yeah. A 10. Oh, Hannah gave it a 10. It was your first one. It was your first Grand Prix, but it was great, and yeah, the fan atmosphere was great. It was yeah, I honestly couldn't recommend it more highly. Thank you, Mitsos, by the way, for the $6.99 Canadian. 2019 Canadian was my first F1 race. Wish I could have gone this year. Hope you're enjoying staying here. Thank you very much. I am indeed. So yeah, race experience. As much as the race itself wasn't a worldie, not one that's going to live long in the memory, I would say. Maybe if Carlos Sainz would have won, That would have been pretty iconic, and we'll talk about that because it did get pretty exciting at the end. But yeah, fan event experience, 9 out of 10, 100%, easy clap. Right, so let's have a look at the race results then. Let's remind ourselves of what happened. Max Verstappen, of course, took the win in a pretty dominating display. Let's be honest, Max was on it. Carlos Sainz did make it interesting towards the end though, and got fastest lap, so he got P2. And then Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, Mercedes 3, 4. Charles Leclerc got back to P5. Could have, maybe, should have been more. The Mercedes were quick though. Once again, they seem to have, kind of like in Spain when they were really on it. And then, as you know, I'm sure a lot of Mercedes fans after Spain felt like, oh yeah, we've really turned a corner now. And George has still got another top 5, which is crazy. But Baku was a bit tricky, but I mean here they were decent. They were very, very solid. So yeah, Chuck Leclerc getting back to P5, pretty good. Ocon 6, Bottas, Joe 7 and 8, Alonso 9, Stroll 10. The homeboy. I'm glad Lance got a point. Happy for him. Good race from Lance. Good race. Qualified 17th. I think he gained more positions than anyone, didn't he? He gained like 7 positions. And yeah, Alonso obviously with his 5-second penalty at the end for weaving in front of Valtteri Bottas meant that he lost 2 positions, which kind of sucked for him. But I think it was a fair penalty. If you can watch it back. F1 posted a bunch of best onboards, and one of them is the Alonso weave in front of Valtteri. Valtteri definitely has a run, and Alonso he knows what he's doing. But sometimes those things work out. Alonso's played these games many times this year, and it's worked out for him, but not this time. Thank you, Dylan, mate, for the $5. Congrats, you and Hannah. Wishing you guys a lifetime of happiness. Thank you, Dylan. Appreciate it, mate. Very kind. Very kind. Hannah's in the chat as well, by the way. And Hannah's a mod, so if you misbehave, she'll kick you out. Right, okay. Those are the results. I didn't ask for you lot's winners and losers because this wasn't a really pre-planned stream. I just kind of chucked the graphics together. Boom, let's just go live. Because I'm on my honeymoon, so which is mad to say. We can't say we got married because we obviously go to restaurants and they'll be, oh, what are you here for? And we're like, oh, we got married yesterday, and then they spoil you. But now it doesn't really sound quite as good when it's like we got married the day before yesterday. But we won't be able to get some free stuff there. We're on honeymoon, so it's fine. Right, okay, so my winners and losers, my dubs and L's of the day from the Canadian Grand Prix are as follows. I gave Zhou Guanyu my driver W of the weekend because this has been a long time coming, right? And it's been a difficult rookie season for him. A lot out of his control, the difficulty. But I think he did a fantastic job. Out-qualified, got to Q3, out-qualified Valtteri. Yes, he finished behind Valtteri in the race, but I don't think that's really anything to hold against him. Also, and again, this is one thing it was difficult to follow watching on the screens is who benefited the most from all the, VSC/SC pits as well. That was kind of difficult to follow, but I think Joey did a great job. I think he had a great weekend. I think he thoroughly deserved the points that he got, and I'm happy for him. Obviously, honourable mentions, Max Verstappen. Fantastic race. The way he soaked up the pressure from Sainz at the end was incredibly impressive because neither of them put a foot wrong. Impressive from Sainz, don't get me wrong, but super impressive from Max. I think it's always easier being the one chasing than the one being chased, you know what I mean? And didn't put a foot wrong. Stroll gains more positions than anyone. Again, qualified, out in Q1, managed to get a point in the end. Can't argue with that. Great result. And Charles Leclerc, it's always hard to rate a quick car coming from the back, going through the field. He's in a Ferrari, so he should be moving through the field, and he did. I can't, I know he got driver of the day, I think, didn't he? It's difficult for me to know how impressed I am by that. I'll be honest, I don't really know how impressed I am by that. It's like, cool, yeah, he gained loads of positions, the most positions, obviously. But I don't know. So that's my driver W. Team W, I'm giving it to Alfa Romeo. Both cars in the points. Good points as well, 7 and 8. I think, you know, this type of weekend's been long overdue for them. Because I think they've got good performance in their car. And I'm chuffed for Alfa Romeo. Well done. Mercedes, obviously, 3 and 4 finish. That has to be a dub. Lewis up on the podium as well. Again, I think this race only went to prove something I've been saying. Yes, I know George has outscored Lewis by a fair amount so far this year. But honestly, I think they're driving at a very similar level. I think Lewis has been unlucky in this race. I think, you know, it paid dividends in the end that Lewis was able to capitalise, get the P3, and pull a bit of a gap to George at the end as well. So, good race from Lewis, but great race from Mercedes. Ferrari, look, obviously for Sainz, you know, Sainz was probably, at the end of the race, he probably was the quickest car. Again, that's why I was even more impressed by the fact that Max was able to hold him off. And the fact that Leclerc was able to move through the field. You know, maybe on another day he gains a few more positions, maybe ahead of the Mercedes. But the Mercedes did seem kind of comfortably, you know, slower than the Red Bull and the Ferrari, but comfortably quicker than the rest. You know what I mean? In that kind of middle ground there. So I think all in all, damage limitation wise, Ferrari did a pretty good job. And then Red Bull, obviously giving Max the car to win. It is an L that Checo had to pull over. No fault of his own. But Max won the race. So credit where credit is due. Driver L of the weekend, I have to give it to Yuki. Yuki's weekend was looking really good, really solid once again. And you could hear on the when he was coming out of the pits, they were telling him he was racing at the kind of pit exit. So he had to go for it, and he just went for it too much and put it in the wall. A big bozo moment from Yuki Tsunoda. You know, I love him, but you got to call him out, and that was just, I felt so bad when I just saw that car planted in the wall. Not good. I did go over, because obviously after the race you can walk the track, right? So we, you know, watched the podium and then jumped around and then walked round turn 1 and then all the way around back to the bridges to get to the metro. And I could see the big mark on the AWS graphic sides where Yuki had plunged it. I was so sad. Magnussen, I put in there. I do think he was too aggressive at the start. You watch the Jody and Palmer analysis, he breaks it down really well. He's, you know, Lewis is ahead. Magnussen, play the long game, man. Kev, play the long game. Like, it happened before in Spain where you tangled, and I don't think, I think there before it was more 50-50. Well, it was more on Kev, but I thought that was kind of, I could see why Kev was there, and it was like 60-40 for me, with Kev being at fault. But this one, Kev was just silly. Like, he played it too risky. Didn't need to do it. Could have consolidated that position and got good points. And you can argue, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have had to, you know, get the black and meatball flag, whatever it's called, to pull into the pits to change the front wing. All right, maybe, but at the end of the day, I don't think he should have been in that position in the first place. You know what I mean? I think he should have consolidated. Thank you, Daniel Ross, for the 999. If you had to choose a circuit to visit, which one, Suzuka or Koga? Oh, that's difficult. Daniel, that's a difficult question, because you know I love Suzuka and you know I love Koga. I would probably say Suzuka. Yeah. But I really want to go to Koga as well. Thank you, Juan, as well, for the 999. First round's on me. Congrats to both. Thank you, Juan. Appreciate that. And Sedan, thank you for the 100 rupees. Fernando Alonso is the only person in the world making the right decisions at the wrong time. Fernando's luck, once again, kind of evaded him, but we'll talk about that. Thank you, Citrus, mate. Appreciate it for the €5. Congrats, Mercedes. Wait, what? Congrats, Mercedes and second stray controversy. Second stray? Do you mean stay, as in to strengthen the flaws? Sorry, mate. Just post in the chat again, and I'll find it. Right. Yeah. So yeah, Kev, just a bit too, you know, risky for no. Yeah, Haas need the points. They've got a good car. He doesn't need to put his car in that position. And Lewis had the corner. You know, I think that was silly from Kev. Schumacher. Now, And I've seen some of you say a bit harsh on Schumacher because he did have a technical DNF, yes. But considering where he qualified, he was falling back through the field. I mean, Russell made a great send up the inside. Considering how Kev was doing up until he had to pull in, Schumacher was just falling back. And I couldn't help but notice that. And then for him to have his technical DNF, maybe it is harsh, but I still don't think this was a weekend to write home about for Mick Schumacher, and still no points. I know it wasn't his fault, but I got to be honest, with the pace of the other cars and the fact that he was falling back so quickly so early, I feel like he would have been out the points anyway, in my opinion, even if that hadn't have happened. But there you go. Cheers. To be honest, I haven't read too much about any controversy around the stays. I saw a video talking about what the FIA are planning to do, but to be honest, I haven't been paying too much attention. So I'll learn about that in time. And then Latifi I've put in there as well because, again, he was just miles off, wasn't he? What more can I say? First home Grand Prix for the Canadian. The noises around his future relative to Oscar Piastri seem to be getting louder. It seems to be nigh on confirmed from what I've read, from what I've heard. So yeah, it seems that the Latifi days are pretty numbered, unfortunately. But look, I like the guy, but at the end of the day, the results haven't been good enough. Right, and then Team L of the weekend. Again, a lot of people said Haas, but I think, again, the fact that Kev finished so low was more his fault than the team's fault. Yes, Schumacher pulling over was Schumacher's fault. Was the team's fault. Wasn't Mick's fault. But I think if Kev is a bit less aggressive, then they get good points, and I'm not putting that on the team. So I've gone AlphaTauri because, poor qualifying, Pierre down in 14th. Yuki, obviously, yes, it was his fault, but they weren't running. Considering how good they were last race in Baku, I've given it to them. McLaren, obviously, Ricciardo P11 almost in the points. Lando nowhere. I think strategy just robbed Lando of any chance of making any kind of. And obviously, he had the engine problems, didn't he, in the race? So I know Daniel was. I think Daniel was saying he was managing an issue as well. So fair enough that Daniel. I put that more on the team. Because to be fair, I think these have been two good Ricciardo races in a row in terms of performance relative to Lando. I know this one's a bit difficult to measure relative to Lando, but yeah, I think that there seems to be some kind of, turning of the tides, which is nice. Thank you, Max, for the €2. Congratulations, Tommo. Thank you. Thank you very much. Obviously, McLaren, so whatever. Haas, again, I've already said about Haas. And then Alpine I've put in there because, and again, this is one where it was difficult for me to really follow being at the race and watching on the TV without any commentary. And also their TV kept cutting out as well. It was really annoying. How Fernando, because he's in an Alpine, it was always going to be a huge ask for him to maintain some kind of competitive podium finish, because we know the Mercedes are quicker than the Alpine. But for it to go so wrong, and it seemingly be so much on the Alpine strategy, I think didn't he run too long on the mediums at the start or something? But whatever it was, Fernando had the pace. It wasn't on him. It was the team strategy, and for Ocon to end up finishing ahead, it was on Fernando for again the weaving. But regardless, I think P6 Ocon, P9 Alonso. Before this weekend, you look at that and you think that's a good weekend. But given where Fernando qualified, it's not good. It's not good. And then that's it. They're my winners and losers, everyone. They are my winners and losers. So the championship is as follows. After 9 of 22 rounds, Max Verstappen has how big is that gap? That is a 46-point gap between himself and no, 36-point gap. 46 point. I was right the first time. Between him and Sergio Perez. Leclerc still behind Sergio by 3 points. I am holding the mic to flex the ring. Of course. Come on. Russell still, Mr. Consistent, still up there in the points. And then Sainz finally breaks 100. Yeah, I mean, look, again, we were jumping to conclusions very early on in the season, weren't we, about, Red Bull DNFs and Ferrari looking amazing. It's mad how quickly the tables have turned as such, and Max is looking very, very, very solid at the minute, and that Red Bull car is looking very, 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 very solid at the minute. He's always up there. He's always up there in the hunt for the win, and that's the sign of a true great. You know what I mean? You can't really argue with that. Thank you, Daniel, again for the quid, mate. Appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, other than that, there's not too many moves in positions-wise. Alonso jumped up a bit here, and obviously Joey's jumped up as well. But yeah, still Schumacher nil points, and still Latifi with nil points as well. So, but Schumacher will get a point eventually. I don't doubt that. I just think I've got to hold it in this hand so I'll flex the ring. But yeah, it's coming. Right, okay, let's have a quick wrap through all the drivers then, all the teams. And then we'll move. And we'll start with Red Bull, because that's the first team that appeared on screen. Again, yeah. What happened? I don't know what happened to... So I missed qualifying because I was flying. So, best qualifying of the season, missed it. Obviously, I've seen the highlights, and I know that Sergio kind of planted it into the wall in turn 3 or whatever turn it is, the right, left, and so that was obviously unfortunate. I mean, for any, at least for Red Bull's point of view, it was Sergio's car that conked out and not Max's, because Max obviously secured the win. Sergio wasn't really, he didn't seem to be making too much in a way of progress through the field, from what I noticed anyway. So yeah, a weekend to forget from Sergio's side of the garage. Great weekend for Max. What more can I say? Everything's been said. It's looking ominous. It's looking good for Max, because he's looking unreal. And then Ferrari. Yeah, again, it's hard to rate Leclerc's drive because he's in a Ferrari. But obviously, there was some... those moves up the inside of the Alpines into the hairpin. Lovely. And that move on Bottas, going like the Wall of Champions, kink in the road. That was lovely as well. The way he got that stopped and still made the corner. Very impressive. Yeah, I think, look, damage limitation. I'm sure, Max and Sergio, that the Red Bulls will be taking engine penalties later down the line in the season. We're going to see these drives from these guys through the field as the season goes on. But yeah, the progress that Charles made so quickly relative to the progress Sergio made was definitely more impressive, because Sergio didn't seem to be making that much progress, I'll be honest. But there you go. I wanted Sainz to win that race. That would have been amazing. It was... Sainz didn't really do too much wrong. Like, he was gaining in the position in the parts of the track where the Ferrari was strong, and losing out in the parts where the Red Bull was stronger. And just that straight line. The thing is, if you can set up your car, which Red Bull seem to be able to have that little bit more straight line speed and be a little more compromised in the corners, it's much easier to defend position, because most overtakes are done at the end of straights. So it was always going to be a big ask. There were a couple of times where I thought, Carlos maybe bottled it slightly on the brakes, locking up and going a little bit wide and not getting that run, especially into that hairpin, because that was obviously the best kind of opportunity. But I can't, he did a great job. P2, again, very close to a win, but still eluding him. But one day, he'll get there. I've got faith. Okay, Mercedes, again, yeah, I think, it's great drive from both. I think George benefited with the first VSC pit stop, and then Lewis benefited more with the second one, or vice versa. I can't remember. But either way, great result. I would honestly say I think George and Lewis are the two closest driver pairings in terms of performance so far this year out of the entire grid. I would say I don't see another driver pairing that, you know, Leclerc has been quite a bit ahead of Sainz. Verstappen has been reasonably ahead of Sergio for when you think all 9 races altogether. I would say throughout the field, Gasly, Tsunoda's been kind of close, but I think that these two have been the closest, which is a good sign for Mercedes, and they're still picking up lots of points. You know, George is still ahead of Carlos in the drivers' championship. So, there's a lot to be, as much as the car, and they're talking about Mercedes upgrades in Silverstone. I'm fascinated to see what that actually does, how much of a difference that actually makes. It's exciting to see that, you know, potentially there will be a third car in this kind of top battle as well. And I think, you know, if Mercedes can get on top of it, then there's still over half the season left. Silverstone's next race, that'll be round 10. So after Silverstone, there'll still be 11 races. Yeah, I mean, so cool. Mercedes done. McLaren, disappointing day for McLaren, wasn't it? Just don't seem to have any straight line speed. And yeah, I mean, obviously Daniel was talking about managing problems. I don't know how. Thank you, Han. I don't know how much of a difference that would have made to Daniel's finishing position. You know what I mean? But not too much to say. McLaren just there. Considering how close they were to Ferrari last year, and I saw the race did a video about this, talking about McLaren's relative downturn. Ferrari, you know, McLaren and Ferrari were very close last year, and Ferrari have just gone boom. McLaren have just not quite been there as it, and it's been a shame. Obviously, you know, Ferrari have got the facilities. McLaren's still building their wind tunnel. There's all this context to that, of course, but. Yeah, disappointing day for McLaren. A lot of McLaren fans, though. A lot of McLaren fans in Canada. Also, I've got to say, Canada was definitely more, because obviously this dynamic is probably at every Grand Prix. You're either on the Max side or on the Hamilton side. Well, at the podium, there were a lot of cheers for Lewis, and there were quite a few boos for Max, which, you know. I mean, I don't really care about booing, to be honest. I'm a football fan, and booing's just normal, so whatever. But yeah, a lot of papaya support. A lot of Red Bull, a lot of Mercedes, a lot of to be fair, the amount of merch that was being worn and the kind of the spread of support was what I would expect to see from most Grand Prix. To be honest, actually, it wasn't that different. Thank you, Kevin, for the 2 CHF. Congrats, brother. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Yeah, mate, of course, I've got a Polish Eddie. I've got to flash it. Yeah, weekend certificate to McLaren for McLaren. Move on. HAAS. Look, again, as much as the points weren't there, this HAAS has shown a lot of pace this year, and they haven't capitalised as much as they should be. They should have way more points. Now, obviously, you know, they can take a lot of positives from being, you know, quick. They're quick in quali, and they've got good pace. That's a good thing. You'd rather have that pace. Like Mattia Binotto's talked about this with the Ferrari. They'd rather have a quick car that is unreliable. Thank you. They'd rather a quick car that's unreliable, but and the HAAS, it's more the drivers being unreliable. You know what I mean? You can keep making that argument that, oh, at least they've got pace, but they have to start scoring big points now, really. Like, the time for that is kind of done. You know what I mean? They've got to actually start scoring points. And I'm sure it will come, but not this weekend. Yeah, Kev, too aggressive. Mick was falling down and then was unlucky, but I think he probably would have been out of the points, in my opinion. Okay, next, let's talk about Aston Martin. Aston Martin, you know, like, bad quali. Obviously, it was, you know, Seb was looking rapid in practice, and then quali was mad, They both lost out. Both went out in Q1. But for Stroll to get into the points, Vettel moved up to, what, P12 in the end. I think, you know, again, I think if circumstances are slightly different, I think Aston Martin is definitely now kind of a good, very much within that midfield scrap now. It wasn't at the start of the season. I think it is now. Stroll, point, happy. Vettel, gain positions at least. Got gained like 4 places. It's okay. It's okay. Only 1 point, but a point nonetheless. You know what I mean? Point nonetheless. Yeah, exactly. I like K-Mag's aggression as well, but there's a time and a place. You know what I mean? It has to be balanced out. So there you go. Right. Alpine. Yes. So look, Ocon's drive, first and foremost. Let's talk about Ocon because, you know, his drive, you know, his qualifying was nothing relative to Fernando's. And I've said this, I've got high expectations of Esteban, and he's kind of under-delivered relative to my expectations so far this year. But maybe I'm being harsh because he's not had... The thing is, right, when Alonso is having these, you know, especially in qualifying, you know, pulling out these mad laps and this mad pace, Ocon's not looking as close as he was. You know, they were the closest qualifying partnership last year, and Ocon's not looking as close this year. And Alonso has been super unlucky. He's been the quicker. I think Fernando's been the quicker driver this year for sure. But Ocon has made the most of his opportunities, and he's had that luck when he's needed it, relative to Fernando anyway. So it's one of them that, you know, P6 Ocon in an Alpine looks amazing, and maybe we should be giving him more credit. But when Fernando's qualifying so much better, it is kind of... It's hard to not look at it as just, you know, Ocon just driving at 90%. You know, like, Alonso's hitting that, like, close to 100%. It's like the peaks and troughs are higher. I talked about this, with Seb and Lance last year. As much as the points weren't that kind of different and, you know, the amount of point scoring positions, Seb's peaks were a lot higher than Lance's, but his lows were lower as well. Whereas Lance was more kind of steady. And it's kind of like that this year with Alonso and Ocon, in my opinion. I think Ocon's just been more steady and getting the points in, which is, like, from a team point of view, that's kind of what you want. But Alonso's shown quite significantly higher highs, I think. And Esteban needs to step up and get close because, you know, yes, it's Fernando Alonso, but you're the future of this team. So I want Ocon to do well. I want him to do bits, but okay, I'll see some Minton pictures after the stream. Okay, right, Alpine is done. AlphaTauri, again, frustrating for Yuki. The pace looked good, but it's a mistake. He'll learn from it, hopefully. I'm sure he will. And Pierre. There was a great, if you watch on the F1 channel, it was like the best onboards, and the best one was it Gasly, Vettel, Albon, I think it was. But basically Gasly goes wide and then Albon sneaks up the inside. It was a great move from Alex, because I remember seeing that and being like, oh, Alex overtook Pierre, that's sick. So yeah, that was a kind of a bit sloppy from Pierre trying to make the move. I think he was trying to capitalise on a battle in front of him. Actually, I can't remember exactly. But either way, not a great weekend for AlphaTauri. I do think Yuki and Pierre are pretty close now in pace. I'll be honest. I think they're very close actually. One to forget. Move on. What more can I say? And Alfa Romeo, great weekend. Bottas, you know, very good, solid drive once again. And I think he's having a very positive impact on Zhou Guanyu. You know, like in Formula 2, you know, comparing Schumacher to Zhou, I would say that there's very little in it. If anything, Schumacher's a little bit more impressive. But I think Schumacher's learning a lot from this first year in Formula 1. Sorry, Zhou's learning a lot more from his first year in Formula 1 than Schumacher did. And I think that's going to pay dividends going forward. I think Joe already has shown more than Latifi ever has, I'll be honest. And has already, I think Schumacher's shown more than Latifi. He's had good qualities. I do think Schumacher's one lap pace is definitely there. It's just he needs to get these mistakes out of his system. And I think Joe's going to get those out of his system quicker because he's got that, you know, presence of Valtteri in the background. Could you just turn the volume down, honey? Well, it's clearly not, is it? It's clearly not. Right. So, yeah. Great day from Alpha Man. Can't argue with that. Welcome, Rowdy Josh, to Friends of Tommo. Appreciate it. Right. Who next? I think this is Williams, isn't it? Yeah, I talked about everyone else. Yeah. Williams. Well, look, Albon's got now a P9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So, in 9 races, and he's had 5 where he's been... Because, look, was he that close to the points? No, not really. He did miss out. I know with the first VSC, he pitted just before. Or not the first... One of the VSCs, he pitted just before the VSC. So I was like, for crying out loud. Really? Again? But I think another good drive from Alex, really. I mean, again, it's hard to pull much information, really. We didn't really see him that much on the feed. He seemed fairly satisfied. I don't think it was an incredible drive, but I think by Alex's standards, it was a pretty good one. And Latifi, unfortunately, was nowhere. So, yeah. What more can I say? Williams, you know, that car is the worst car. I still feel that. You know, is it the fact that Alex is able to mix it with, you know, again, he's had, you know, 5 results, you know, again, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You know, he's had those results where he's been in or close to the points. So that makes you, when you think the Williams of the last kind of, particularly the Williams of like 2019, 2020, and to less of an extent 2021, that car was nowhere near the points unless George pulled out an absolute humdinger. Oh, there was some like mad weather. There was some craziness going on. Mad strategy call, whatever. I feel like this Williams car is closer to the pack than it has been for the last few years. I think Alex is showing that. And unfortunately, it's just kind of exposing that Latifi just... There's no excuses. Like, it's his 3rd year at the team and he's still miles off. So... Unfortunately, go Tifi stands. There's not much more I can say about that. But there you go. Right. Okay, well, we are done. Thank you all for coming. We're going to go out for a... What should we do? Should we go get some food and then go for a hike? One of those. We found like a nice little hike trail. It's not too hikey. Hikey enough to be interesting. The sun's out as well, so... It's mad here, like the weather changes all the time because we're in the mountains. So it's always back and forth in it. But there you go. But yeah, thank you all for coming. Didn't kind of plan to do this, but we're here. And again, won't be around for next race, Silverstone. We're going to be in Yosemite, I think. Yosemite National Park in California. I think over that kind of weekend. But yeah, so maybe I'll do another live stream. Maybe you won't see me until we get back. I don't know. But thank you all for coming. I appreciate you all taking the time. Thank you for all the kind messages. It's very kind. Do appreciate it. And yeah, I will see you whenever I see you. But I'll probably, you know, the time difference is very big here. Again, it's like, it's 25 past 5 at home and it's 25 past 10 here in the morning. So I want to go out and get some food. Have a nice day. Have a nice walk around. Thank you again, everyone. Farewell, adios, ciao. I'm done. Goodbye. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.